The first thing I saw when I pulled back the curtains that morning wasn't my perfectly manicured lawn, or the kids' swing set in the backyard. It was a screaming yellow arrow sign stabbed right into my front grass like a declaration of war, pointing straight at my driveway with bold black letters screaming, Realtor Caravan 150, welcome. My coffee mug nearly slipped from my hand. What the hell? Then my phone buzzed so hard it vibrated off the counter. I snatched it up and stared at the subject line. Reservation confirmed, Willow Creek HOA Elite Caravan Tour at 1422, Maple Drive. 150 real estate agents. Tomorrow afternoon. At my address. The email even had a cute little calendar invite attached, complete with a GPS pin dropped dead center on my garage door like I'd volunteered my home as the main attraction. I don't host tours. I don't rent out my backyard. I'm Ethan Brooks, the guy who just wants to work remotely in peace after the HOA already dragged me through the mud last year for ruining curb appeal. With my solar panels and kid-friendly play area. Karen Whitaker, our beloved president, had called me not a team player in 3 different board meetings, and let the neighborhood gossip mill churn out stories that I was anti-community. I kept my mouth shut then. Learned the hard way that silence sometimes buys you time to watch the enemy build their own noose. I stepped onto the porch in my slippers, heart hammering, as the first luxury SUV slowed down at the end of the cul-de-sac. The driver, a woman in a crisp navy blazer, leaned out the window, phone in hand, frowning at her screen. Excuse me, is this the check-in for the caravan? My app says the staging area is right here at 1422. She waved the phone like it was gospel. The bright red dot glowed right on my driveway. I forced a calm smile even though my stomach was twisting. Ma'am, this is private property. There's no event here. She blinked like I'd spoken another language. But the HOA email said community showcase access. It's all in the CC and RS, right? Behind her, another car pulled up. Then a third. The yellow arrows I hadn't noticed earlier now formed a perfect breadcrumb trail down the entire street. Everyone aimed at my gate like I was the grand finale of some twisted real estate circus. I grabbed my phone and started snapping photos, every sign, every email screenshot, every confused face. Documentation, I told myself. Words can be twisted. Pictures don't lie. My neighbor Rick from across the street wandered over, coffee in hand, already grinning like he smelled drama. Ethan? You throwing a block party I didn't hear about? I held up my phone. First I've heard of it, Rick. Courtesy of Karen Whitaker. He whistled low. She's lost her mind. Those arrows are on public right-of-way, but they're funneling everyone straight to your gate. You'd better get this on record before it turns into a parking lot. He was right. By 9 a.m., my quiet cul-de-sac looked like a pop-up convention center. Someone had dragged out orange traffic cones. A folding table appeared with clipboards and lanyards. A vinyl banner flapped in the breeze. Willow Creek Luxury Showcase, check in here. I marched out with a piece of poster board and thick black marker. Private property and no event. Owner permission required. I zip-tied it to my gate with shaking hands, the ink still wet. Karen's fake politeness had always grated on me, but this was next-level entitlement dressed up as community benefit. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I already knew. I hit record before I answered. Ethan Brooks, I said flatly. Karen's voice poured through like honey over broken glass. Ethan, darling, I'm so glad I caught you. There seems to be a tiny misunderstanding about tomorrow's caravan. The board felt your beautiful modern home would be the perfect flagship stop to showcase what Willow Creek has to offer. Property values, you know? Everyone wins. I let the silence stretch just long enough for her to feel it. Karen, nobody asked me. Nobody got permission. Those signs are on my lawn and your GPS pin is literally on my garage. She laughed that light, practice laugh. Oh, the CC and RS allow community access corridors for events like this. It's all perfectly legal. We even have county consent on file. Don't be difficult, Ethan. Think of the children. Their future home values. I almost laughed out loud at the sheer audacity. The same woman who'd fined me $2,000 for non-compliant landscaping was now lecturing me about community spirit while trying to turn my driveway into a parade route. I kept my voice even. Send me the county consent right now. She hesitated half a second too long. Of course, darling. I'll forward it immediately. You'll see everything's above board. Click. The email arrived 30 seconds later. Official-looking letterhead, faint county seal. The words consent recorded for community showcase access at 1422 Maple Drive. It even had a signature line that read, authorized by county planning. Except I'd never applied for anything. And the timestamp was the same day she'd sent the reservation emails. I forwarded everything to the county permits office with a polite subject line. Possible forgery involving HOA President Karen Whitaker. Then I sat on my porch watching the realtors mill around like confused ants and felt the first cold smile creep across my face. She wanted to play games with my home? Fine. I'd play better. By noon, the shoulder of the street looked like a tailgate party nobody invited me to. A white pickup rolled up with Event Access Solutions stenciled on the side. A guy in a reflective vest hopped out carrying a toolkit and a clipboard. Brandon, according to his name tag. He walked straight to my gate like he owned the place. Morning, sir. We're here to confirm load tolerance and install temporary traffic controls for tomorrow's event. HOA cleared it. I held out my hand. Insurance certificate naming me as additional insured? He handed it over. The policy listed Willow Creek Community Access Point, but left the additional insured line blank. My name wasn't anywhere. I smiled thinly. This doesn't cover my property, Brandon. You touched that gate and you're trespassing. He shifted uncomfortably as phones started recording from the growing crowd. Look, the president said. Karen Whitaker? I finished. She doesn't own my driveway. A woman in a navy suit shouted from the check-in table. We have a schedule. Rick leaned in next to me and whispered. Lobby's getting crowded. I raised my voice just enough for every camera. Folks, this is private property. No written permission was ever given. You're welcome to wait on the public street, but nothing crosses my gate. The wind carried my words straight to Karen's black SUV idling at the back of the line. I could feel her eyes burning through the tinted glass. That was when the first siren hooped politely in the distance. Deputy Harris's tan patrol vehicle crested the hill like cavalry. The cones suddenly looked a lot less official. The banner sagged. And for the first time all morning, I felt the scales tipping exactly where they belonged. Deputy Harris stepped out, sunglasses reflecting the chaos, and surveyed the scene like a man who'd seen every flavor of suburban stupidity. Whose property? He asked, voice carrying. I raised my hand. Mine. Ethan Brooks. No event, no permission. He nodded once, then turned to the folding table where realtors were clutching clipboards like life rafts. Permits for structures on the county shoulder? The woman in heels produced a plastic sleeve. Harris flipped through it, lips tightening. This is a work order, not a permit. And this insurance. He tapped the blank additional insured line. Doesn't cover Mr. Brooks. Means if anyone trips on his driveway, you're all exposed. Phones rose higher. Harris didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The silence after his words did the heavy lifting. I handed him the folder I'd already prepared. Emails, photos of the arrows, screenshots of the GPS pin, and the county consent letter Karen had sent. He scanned it, then looked at the crowd. No permit applications on file. No owner consent. Yet here you are setting up shop on private property and public right-of-way. Karen finally emerged from her SUV. Binder clutched like a shield, heels clicking with forced confidence. Deputy, there's been a misunderstanding. Our CC and RS clearly establish access for community events. We've hosted caravans before. Harris didn't blink. Ma'am, CC and RS don't override private ownership or county law. This house isn't part of your common areas. Karen's smile thinned but held. She pivoted toward the cameras. Ethan, surely you understand the bigger picture. This caravan highlights our neighborhood's value. Property values rise for everyone, including you. I couldn't help the dry laugh that escaped. My solar panels ruined curb appeal last year and cost me $2,000 in fines. Now suddenly my driveway is community property? Funny how that works. A ripple of nervous chuckles moved through the realtors. Karen's neck flushed pink. That was different. This is for the greater good. Greater good doesn't include forged county documents, I said quietly, loud enough for every phone. She snapped her binder shut. That was a clerical error by our management company. I held up my phone, the forwarded email still open. Clerical errors don't come with fake county seals and signatures that match your HOA domain, Karen. Deputy Harris raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, if you've been misrepresenting government authority, that's a serious matter. For the first time her composure cracked, just a flicker, but I caught it. She tried one last Hail Mary. We only need a brief check-in at the gate. Minimal disruption. I'll even send you the official route sheet. I smiled. Send it. 10 minutes later the PDF arrived. My address was bolded on the final line. VIP Showcase Stop, 1422, Maple Drive, 2:30 p.m. I printed it, photographed it next to my coffee mug for scale, and added it to the growing folder. Proof not rumor. That night I sat at my kitchen table with the recorder still running from our earlier call. Karen's voice played back. The MLS requires strong engagement metrics we can't afford to fall short. Numbers. Metrics. Not neighbors. Not permission. Just her need to look good for her real estate buddies. I forwarded the entire package, forged letter, route sheet, insurance gaps, to the county attorney's office and the sheriff's non-emergency line. Then I slept like a man who just handed the enemy a loaded gun pointed at her own foot. The next afternoon the street filled again. Realtors spilled out of minivans, lanyards swinging, voices buzzing with impatience. The same pop-up tent reappeared. Cones marched back into formation. And then the white van with locksmith services stenciled on the side pulled up. The driver headed straight for my gate with bolt cutters glinting in the sun. I stepped outside, Rick filming silently beside me. Nature of the job? I asked. He checked his clipboard. Remove the lock for event access. HOA ordered it. I pointed at the blank consent line. Owner authorization? He frowned, read it again, then looked at the growing crowd of phones. My company won't proceed without proper coverage and consent. Liability's too high. The woman in the navy suit shouted. Just cut it already. The locksmith froze. Deputy Harris's SUV rolled up for the second time, lights flashing once in warning. Without owner consent and proper insurance, this event is unauthorized. Remove the structures. Now. Karen's SUV idled at the back again. She didn't get out this time. She didn't have to. The crowd's mood was shifting, frustration turning toward the woman who'd promised them an easy commission day. I could feel the tide turning slow and sweet. By 2:25 the minibus full of agents pulled up, doors hissing open, everyone clutching phones ready to check in. Karen finally stepped out, binder raised like a battle flag. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our flagship stop, the Brooks Residence. This modern gem perfectly showcases what Willow Creek living is all about. A few people actually clapped. She tapped the MLS event app on her phone. Green check-in button glowing. She tapped again. The screen flashed red. Invalid location. One by one, every agent's phone lit up with the same error. Invalid. 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 Confusion rippled into frustration. What do you mean invalid? We drove hours. Karen's smile froze. It's a system glitch. Refresh. They refreshed. Same red screen. Rick stepped forward holding the printout I'd gotten from the county that morning. Not a glitch. The fake planning corridor you uploaded to the county portal was flagged and removed 2 hours ago. GPS no longer recognizes this address as an approved event stop. Karen spun on me, eyes wild. You sabotaged a professional event, Ethan. Do you realize what you've done? I kept my voice calm, loud enough for every live stream. You forged county consent. You printed my address on your route sheet. You tried to cut my lock. The only sabotage here is the lie you told to 200 people. The crowd murmured. Phones turned toward Karen instead of me. One agent muttered. She said it was all approved. Another. We paid for these credits. Deputy Harris stepped between us, citation pad already out. Ma'am, staging without permits, misrepresentation of county documents, and creating a public hazard. You'll need to come with me for a statement. Karen's binder slipped in her grip. For the first time she looked small, pink blazer suddenly too bright, heels sinking into the grass she'd once fined me for. The minibus driver honked twice. I'm not unloading anybody here. This is insane. He gunned the engine and peeled away, gravel spitting. Livestream comments exploded. Karen lied. Invalid gate equals fraud. Hoa Karen exposed. Karen turned in a slow circle, realizing the narrative had slipped from her manicured fingers. She stalked back to her SUV, door slamming so hard the sound echoed down the cul-de-sac. The crowd dissolved, grumbling, some even muttering apologies to me as they left. When the last car disappeared, the street was quiet again. Just me, Rick, and Deputy Harris by the gate. Rick lowered his camera. That was beautiful. Harris tucked his pad away. Keep everything, Mr. Brooks. County attorney's already asking for copies. This isn't just an HOA spat anymore. 3 days later I sat in the back row of the community center, while the board tried to salvage what was left of their dignity. Karen sat at the front table, face pale, binder closed for once. The county attorney hovered at the end like a silent judge. The chairman cleared his throat. We are here to address the caravan incident. President Whitaker, your statement. Karen's voice was thinner than her smile. On behalf of the HOA, I regret the misunderstanding. Consent was not properly obtained. Someone in the crowd coughed. Forged emails ain't a misunderstanding. The attorney scribbled something. Then the words I'd waited months to hear. The board has voted to formally censure President Whitaker for overstepping authority and misrepresentation. She retains her position until term end, but without independent event planning privileges. A gasp swept the room. Karen's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Not with cameras rolling. Not with neighbors finally seeing the shark behind the smile. I stood. Just so we're clear, this wasn't a glitch. This was an attempt to use my home without permission after years of punishing me for minor infractions. It stops now. Scattered applause broke out. Real applause, not the polite kind. Neighbors shook my hand on the way out. One older couple whispered, "We saw the live streams. Glad you held the line." Rick caught it all on camera, of course. You just won the court of public opinion, man. The next morning an email arrived from a legitimate events company. We saw the news. Would love to discuss renting your backyard properly for small educational tours. Full insurance, permits, written contracts. I stared at the screen and laughed for the first time in weeks. Where Karen tried to steal, someone else offered to pay fair. Maybe someday I'd say yes. On my terms. That evening the cul-de-sac was peaceful again. No cones, no banners, no strangers. Just my house, my driveway, my life. I walked to the gate, hand resting on the lock I'd defended, and looked at the last yellow arrow sign someone had left half buried in the grass. I picked it up, bent and faded, and leaned it against the garage wall like a warning to myself and anyone else who might forget. Permission isn't assumed. It's asked for. Karen's apology at the next board meeting was awkward and half-swallowed, but public. The censure stuck. The county tightened its portals so fake corridors couldn't masquerade as law. And my solar panels? Still shining, still ruining curb appeal, in the best possible way. So here's the question that keeps me up at night, and maybe you too. When the HOA president forges documents, lies to 150 professionals, and tries to turn your home into her personal stage, all while preaching community first. Who's really the bad neighbor? The guy who quietly said no and protected what was his, or the woman who thought the rules never applied to her? Let me know in the comments. Because in Willow Creek, the real drama is just getting started.